Wasn't even a day into taking the House. We got Pelosi Gate, and then we got Elf Sessions being fired. We can't just enjoy ourselves for a couple of days, can we? Dyze in your house. Exclusively on East Coast Radio.
Mile journey begins with one step. Progressives took that step on November 6th. The journey's not over, but we took a step in the right direction.
If you don't know what Staten Island is, it's like New York's abortion that lived.
Did you see New York 11 elected a Democrat? New York 11 is Staten Island, the most Trumpian place in New York City. Elected a Democrat. Don't try to tell me it wasn't a wave. Robert Mueller isn't the only person investigating Trump now. We have the House Intel Committee is now chaired by Adam Schiff, and they have subpoena power. And he will use it. And he will get to the bottom of this, like he's been trying to do for the last 2 years, and Devin Nunes has been stymieing him. Devin Nunes is no longer the chairman. The midnight runs to the White House are over. I made a promise to the listeners of East Coast Radio that if the Democrats did not mess up November, that if November 6th went our way, that we would have a little fun here on East Coast Radio. And if you stay tuned, I promise you this. Along with our fighting fascism and trying to save democracy, we will have a little fun. Because we earned it. Keep it locked to East Coast Radio.
Representing Staten Island.
Remember, we got Dyze in your house at the end of the week. We got the J Porks podcast at the beginning of the week. Every week, East Coast Radio for the least heard voices. Get us on Patreon, patreon.com/JPorks, and follow us on Twitter at East Coast Radio. Let's punch fascism in the face. One podcast at a time.
If you don't know what Staten Island is, it's like New York's abortion that lived. Representing Staten Island. Staten Island was no joke.
Hey yo, who's in the house? Dyze in your house. What is the word, peeps? What goes on? It is the Friday after the midterms 2018. I am Jay Porks, and welcome into another action-packed edition of Dyze in your house. This used to be the pre-show, the post-show, the prelude to the Jay Porks podcast, because corruption rising so fast that we not only needed to have one podcast, we needed to add a second one, and that's what we did. So at the end of the week, usually Thursday night, Friday morning, all day Friday, usually, we are going to have Dyze in your house available for you. And then every Monday, or Sunday, depending on if you want to sign up for Patreon and become a East Coast Radiohead, you will get the J Porks podcast, which is a 90-minute excursion where we go long form. We have J Porks Presents the Thread Count, where we go to our sources on Twitter and we find out what's actually happening. We delve deep into what's going on in the Russia probe, Mueller, all of that stuff. We'll dive a little deeper into Jeff Sessions on the next episode of the J Porks podcast. And also, I just want to say, leading up to the midterms, I promised that if the Democrats took control of the House, that we would do some fun things on the J Porks podcast. I am not a liar. We have some stuff that is non-political. We are going to have non-politics segments on the J Porks podcast. Not on Dyze in your house. Dyze in your house is all about fighting fascism. But East Coast Radio is about, we want to fill you with knowledge that you need, but we also want to entertain you here. And I've got some fun stuff planned from now till, the end of the year. We've got some music stuff planned. We'll talk about some stuff. So it won't be all politics all the time on the Jay Parks podcast. And when I say that, I mean instead of 90 minutes of politics, it might be 60 minutes of politics and 17 minutes of something fun. Don't get so excited, but I made you a promise, and I'm going to keep that promise. And that's what I'm going to do here on Least Coast Radio for the Least Heard Voices. Jeff Sessions was fired. But we are going to get into that on the Jay Parks podcast. But Jeff Sessions being fired, now I might be naive. This might be 1996 Democrat in me talking, This might be the 1996 progressive, who's this naive and calm about everything. But, we have chairmanships of all of the House committees. That includes the House Intel Committee. That includes Adam Schiff. Now, if I was Trump, I'd be afraid of Adam Schiff. Because for 2 years, Adam Schiff, he hasn't been being crazy with it. He's just been going on Maddow, going on CNN and saying, we would like to investigate this. This is something we'd like to investigate. We weren't allowed to call this witness, that witness. It was like 80 witnesses they weren't allowed to call. Or they weren't allowed to have back in for follow-up questioning. That is over. Also, there is subpoena power. Also, Jeff Sessions just went from Attorney General to witness in the Mueller investigation. Witness to obstruction of justice, which is the charge that brought down Nixon. So let's just all take a deep breath, and let's do what I intended on doing on this episode of Dyze in Your House, as the results were coming in Tuesday night, and let's take a breath as Democrats, as Americans, as people that care about democracy. Let's just take a breath, a sigh, and let's just be happy for a day or two. Let's be happy that we took the House. Oh, it wasn't a wave. It wasn't a wave. How many seats we got right now? 30? How many seats constitute a wave? Because 538 put us topping out at 58 seats taken. So what exactly constitutes a wave? It wasn't a blue wave. It was a rainbow wave. You people will do anything to take away from democratic joy. So what do we have on Tuesday? Much of the same. Florida, scene of the crime, again, since 2000, continuously becoming the scene of the crime. Florida needs to be something that Democrats need to figure out. Because for us to lose by 1 point in Florida in a governorship and in a Senate race, 1 point, we were that close. Meanwhile, Florida gave the okay to give felons the right to vote. So in 2020, former felons who are no longer on parole are going to have the right to vote. You think those people are voting Republican? A majority of them? I think Democrats just got some more votes. So how is it that a referendum like that can get 70% or close to 70%, but Ron DeSantis beats Gillum? That goes to show you that the Bible Belt and stuff and the Rust Belt and all that Republican stronghold, if Democrats can figure out Florida, man, we have to figure it out. So that's one. That's the one thing I'm taking away. Well, the first thing I'm taking away is that Florida, scene of the crime, again, constantly letting us down. It's been 18 years with this, with Florida. You're either red or you're blue. Make a decision. Because we're having trouble planning campaign stops, deciding if your state is lost or not. Obama was there with Gillum and Nelson, trying to bring them across the finish line. Ron DeSantis, the racist. Crazy. Again, like Gillum says, he might not be a racist, but racists think he's a racist. Meanwhile, Rick Scott, governor of Florida, literally one of the worst governors in the country, gets the Senate seat from Bill Nelson. Because Bill Nelson he's not, I don't want to even say, like, he might be as boring as Rick Scott. Rick Scott's kind of boring. Bill Nelson's really boring. I had a long conversation with my dad about Bob Menendez earlier. On Tuesday. When we got home on Tuesday, my dad, oh, this guy Menendez is going to lose. Listen, bud. I've been in New Jersey all summer. You know what I'm saying? I've been in the woods. I've been in the sticks. And I've been convincing people that we gotta fight corruption with corruption. Listen, I understand. Menendez broke the law. And in a normal society, we would replace him with somebody normal. Somebody progressive who we like. The Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of New Jersey. In a perfect world, we would do that. But right now, we need all hands on deck to fight Trump. And Menendez's voting record against Trump is one that I will stand by. And if he really... if he was really that bad, then wouldn't Jelly Beans have already had him booted from the Senate? Isn't that what she does? She gets people booted? So if that was the case, if he was really doing stuff that was that corrupt, Kirsten Jelly Beans would have taken care of it already. I kid about Jelly Beans, of course, but I mean, the Senate map for the Democrats was hard, so the whole time, for the last 6 months, I've been saying that the blue wave is not going to hit the Senate. It is just going to hit the House. And all we needed was control. That's all we needed. And we got it by, it's not like there's a one-seat margin. Yeah, we didn't get 80 seats, but let's point to some things that happened that were big. Democratic candidates, Democratic Senate candidates received more votes overall than Republican candidates for Senate. That should tell you something. Also, Democrats secured some governorships that were very important. And also, they secured the state houses in several states. Several key states that they would need. In total, about 300 state lawmakers' seats went to the left. Why is that important? Well, that's important locally for when Republicans try to draw a little puzzle piece of a district to try to gerrymander themselves into elections. That's why it's important. Now, we have state legislature, some state houses, and we have some governor mansions in Democratic control. Therefore, more than there were on Tuesday. Therefore, we are going to be able to put a stop to any gerrymandering attempts that try to go down. Also, those census questions about immigration, about if you're an immigrant, like, that stuff is going to be a lot harder for the fascist regime to get done now as well. There's a lot of positives to take out of Tuesday. I didn't need to wake up Wednesday morning, like I slept. I got as much sleep as about Steve. No, I'm kidding. I got an hour more sleep than Steve Kornacki did, okay? Which, by the way, I don't know what kind of coffee they make for that guy, but I need some of that. Because that guy's the big board all night. The Kornacki cam is real. No, but, listen. Democrats didn't get 80 seats. Doesn't mean it wasn't a wave. It's a wave because we waved into power. We came, and now we have, again, chairmanships. I can't stress the importance enough of it. Because if Devin Nunes wasn't such a Russian troll in real life, IRL, like, if he wasn't doing midnight runs across the White House, if he wasn't ending his investigations early, then maybe Republicans would be able to cover their ass with this. But no, now they're tied to Trump. The Republican Party has seen its last days. That's a fact. You guys had 2 years to distance yourself from him. You guys had 2 years to straighten yourselves out. You had 2 years to get away from the racism. Do what John Kasich is doing. You see Kasich? John Kasich is like, oh, I'm not ruling out anything. I'm not a never anything. He was not saying he's going to primary Trump, but when they asked him if he'd run as an independent in 2020, he didn't answer that question. Fascinating. What else locally, let's talk about locally. New York. New York, Cuomo won, of course, again. But more importantly, Democrats took the State House, which means the legalization of recreational marijuana in New York is a closer thing to happening today than it was on Monday night. Okay? I understand Cuomo said that he wanted to do it, but we didn't have the votes in the State House. Now we do. Now we have the votes in Albany to do it. So let's see if Cuomo really wants to let New Jersey get ahead of him in terms of being progressive. Because if New Jersey becomes more progressive than New York, then, you know, the greatest city in the world is no longer so much that. You know, if we gotta move to the sticks of New Jersey to buy recreational marijuana, that's gonna be a problem for me. I mean, I'll just go and get it. It's gonna be a problem for Cuomo and his constituency. But more importantly, you go down the ballot, where do I live? The rugged lands of Shaolin. The home of Wu-Tang. And more famously, Pete Davidson. By the way, Pete Davidson gave Crenshaw that race, by the way. The eye patch guy, he won by like 20,000 votes. Yeah, the 20,000 people that don't like Pete Davidson who were watching Saturday Night Live that day. Thanks, Pete. But it's alright. You're still the best thing to come out of Staten Island since Wu-Tang. And the most Staten Island thing to ever be Staten Island. But what do I talk about, Staten Island? I talk about conservatives. I talk about guns. People loving guns. People, my neighbor, I don't want to say this too loud. He's got the Second Amendment. The entire Second Amendment on the back windshield of their car. I don't want to tell them that, like, that it says organized militia on there. And, like, I know they're using that, they put that there to support guns. But actually, they're proving that they can't read by putting that over there. But anyway. North Texas is my little pet name for this place. Trumplandia. Elected a Democrat to Congress. We were the only district in New York City to have a Republican representative, Dan Donovan, who likes to come to the school I worked at last year for photo ops. Dan Donovan, Republican, Trump endorsed, goes down in New York 11 to Max Rose. Remember Max Rose? Remember I told you? Well, here's what I told. On June 2nd, I was at Borough Hall in Staten Island, standing on the steps, holding up a sign, and trying to, it was a Youth Over Guns protest. I was there. Max Rose was there. Was Max Rose there shaking hands and courting votes? Was Max Rose there getting out his message about, you know, his platform, his policies? No. Max Rose stood in the back with his head down and mourned these children. He didn't make it a political thing. That's when he got my vote. That's when he got my vote. And I understand that, you know, he's an Afghan war vet and he ran on sort of a moderate, middle of the road type thing. Listen, just win. We just gotta win. There are more progressives in the country than there are conservatives in the country. That's a fact. So what we gotta do is get out there and vote. Every time. Biggest midterm turnout since 1966. We need to continue this going. We take this into 2020, the Republican Party will never be heard from again. One more thing before I get out of here. And I don't want to spend too much time on this. This is more of a Jay Parks podcast sort of thing. But Wednesday morning, we had not even had most of the California races counted yet. And we're already talking about, it's already Pelosi gate. Can you people take a couple of days to just breathe? We're already figuring out who's going to be the speaker? Now, during the election season, they asked Pelosi, how do you feel about all these Democrats saying they don't support you? She said, like I said earlier, just win! Just win. Now, if Pelosi's not going to be the speaker, I want Adam Schiff to be the speaker. But again, I'm not sitting here saying, oh, Nancy Pelosi. Like, again, she's the last, like, the last ghost of the, like, not ghost, what is it? Like, she's the last thing that the Republicans can fearmonger you into right now. Hillary's not around. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is no longer campaigning, so you're not going to hear her say socialism a bunch of times in a week. She's not going to go on Chris Hayes. You know what I'm saying? The caravan. We're not hearing about the caravan. What happened to the caravan? I thought that was important. Oh, it's not important, right? Oh, okay. Just making sure. Did the wall? Any bricks? Any bricks in that wall? Oh, okay. So when the Democrats had zero power, when the Democrats had zero houses of government, Nancy Pelosi was a reason that no brick in that wall got put up. And now, not even before the votes are counted, we want to get rid of Nancy Pelosi? Now, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, you know, I'm not saying what... Here's what I want. I want progressives and Democrats to maintain control of government. That's all I want. All I want is Democrats and progressives to maintain control. If we are better off with Nancy Pelosi as the Speaker of the House, then let's keep that. If somebody smarter than me can come along, looking at you guys in the thread count, like, if anybody wants to come along and give me a good reason, a reason why if Nancy Pelosi remains Speaker, we lose seats in this way, then tell me. But right now, I think that we should just take a week and breathe and enjoy the fact that we got out the vote and we took the House back. We took it back like we said we were. Jay Porks, Dyze in your house.
If you don't know what Staten Island is, it's like New York's abortion that lived.
Representing Staten Island.
Staten Island was no joke.